Week 2 NFL predictions and picks. This is Beat the Odds NFL edition. I'm Katelyn Heffler, and these are my two co-hosts, Nate and Justice. Guys, how are we doing? How are we doing with last week's picks?
Licking my wounds a little bit, but that's what's great. If it was, that's why it's called gambling. If it was, so it was. That's why it's just called gambling a little bit. But yeah, lick my wounds a little bit. But I feel pretty good. I feel like I got better feel for the league right now. Maybe not to overreact too much.
Yeah, I'm doing a little better than Nate, so feeling good. Always good to get that dub, get that lead over him early on in the season. So.
How did we do last week with our?
Oh, last night was fun for you, like that.
Oh yeah,
that was some ebbs and flows for you. The Ravens Raiders game last night.
Yeah, it was that was nuts. I don't even know what happened at the end of that game. There's like five mishaps at that end of the game where I'm like, you lost the kicker. You try to kick it on second down, and then your quarterback bails you out. Just
the entire
20
team.
Things could have gone wrong.
Yeah, the entire team on that field goal were just like, no one knew that they were about to kick a field goal. That was like one of the funnier things. Like Eli and Peyton Manning were like, "What's going on right now?"
Yeah,
that was just too.
The Raiders were celebrating at one point. Then Carr threw like a goal line interception because they messed up a quarter. They got a delay of game after a quarterback sneak, and like, oh my goodness,
nothing but the good stuff. What was the flow chart? The win probability? Was it like
it was nuts. Yeah, it was nuts. I said it was a dopamine map last night. It was just
both sides.
Just like oh my goodness. You want to get into these games though?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Before we get started, you guys want to hit on our picks of the week and how we did?
Oh man, well, mine was the Vikings, and they were -3 road favorites against the Bengals. I still felt okay about the bet. It was kind of not the best game script for them, where Kirk Cousins has to drop back, and that's not ever going to be good for them. But they also just had the fumble luck. They had 12 penalties, I believe they did, and the Bengals actually played pretty well. I mean, the offense looked good and everything, but I still felt okay about the bet. I thought I was going to push at the end there until Dalvin Cook fumbled, and so that's never fun.
I went 3-1-1, and the one game I lost was my pick of the week, which was Green Bay, which, oh my goodness, guys.
That hurts you to levels.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Oh man. They just lost control of that game completely. New Orleans was able to hold the ball. Their offense got like 2 3-and-outs. And then by the time their offense got the ball again, it was like 1 minute left in the half, and you're down 17-3, and it's like, oh my goodness, there's nothing you can do at that point.
The Packers' third time they touched the ball was with a minute left in the half, because
Aaron Rodgers had like 20 yards at that point, and it was like the third drive, and they're like, they have 17 points.
The Saints went 15 plays, 9 plays, 15 plays. Like,
it was the first time any NFL team had scored on back-to-back 15-play drives since 2000. A lot of weird things happening in that game that I don't think are going to translate to the future, but hard to take that out.
Well, that Patriots-Dolphins game, that was my pick of the week. What a disappointing game, honestly, for me. I mean, losing by 1 point, like either get killed or lose by a touchdown at least, but losing by 1 point, I was just so disappointed because I'm like, this shows me nothing for the season. I mean, that's how kind of a lot of the week 1 games work. Mac, had that first NFL game jitters in the beginning. Totally understandable, but I wouldn't say that either quarterback or either team played great or played bad. It was kind of just like average the entire game. Didn't really show me a lot. The Patriots, they have a lot of work to do, but, so does every team.
Every team.
So,
No.
it was at least the Patriots got to the red zone, but they need to get in the end zone, get past that red zone moving forward. But
Agreed.
Are you guys ready to get into our picks for week 2?
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, have to. We gotta get back up to 500. That's what we got 17. That's what's so nice. We got an extra week to just get myself back up to 500 now. We got 18 weeks now to bet.
Dig
on,
yourself
so
in the hole, Ticer.
Exactly. I'm just spotting the lead. That's all.
You want to go first, or?
Sure. I'll go first. And I already mentioned it. But I'm gonna stick with it. I don't learn my lessons. Last year I picked the Vikings to win the division. Last week, I picked the Vikings as a road favorite. And this week, I'm sticking with the Vikings at +4.5 at Arizona Cardinals. And this is not to take away anything the Cardinals did to the Titans last week, but it's still their defense looked really impressive. Obviously, with Chandler Jones doing what he did with 5 sacks, but just everything they did. Isaiah Simmons looked good. Zaven Collins, I didn't really get to watch him too much, but Isaiah Simmons stepped up. The corners didn't get exposed as much as I thought they would. And honestly, but having said all that, I already mentioned kind of the Viking stuff. I do think they were about to win the game by 3, which would have pushed my spread. I would have really liked that. But that +4.5 on the road, I do think this is more of an even matchup, or even matchup with defensively against the Cardinals offense, because the Cardinals offense is still, hey, Kyler, go do something. So I think Zimmer is going to be a little ticked off. I think the offense from the Vikings, you're not going to have 12 penalties. Their O-line maybe might get a little bit more settled, but I'm going to stick with the Vikings because they haven't done enough pain to me in my childhood that I just want to continue this, even though I don't cheer for them anymore.
Yeah, you got to worry about Chandler Jones.
No.
Oh, goodness gracious, 5 sacks to start the year. Insane. He had Taylor Lewan on Twitter being like, I apologize, fans.
8 minutes after the game. It was like they probably came in the locker room, said the Lord's Prayer, and then he tweeted. It must have just instantly did it. I know that. Oh, it was. And you could tell the Titans were worried about J.J. Watt. They were just worried about him. They chipped up him. And then there's Chandler Jones on the other side. I bet you Lewan the whole week was like, oh, I got him one-on-one. And it's like, no, you don't. No. It was a long day for him.
My first pick of the week, it's going to be Rams -4 at Indianapolis. I just think the talent gap between these two teams is too wide to have that number that low, frankly. I don't know what the Colts really bring to the table. My opinion of the Colts hasn't really changed after that week 1, and the Rams seem like they know what they're doing immediately. And it seems like they're going to sling the rock down the field a lot more than they did it with Jared Goff. If that's the case, it's going to be pretty hard to stop them. Once you're getting plays out of like Van Jefferson, and it's like, oh, okay. Like this is a threat now. Okay, this isn't funny anymore. So that's kind of my thought, is just the Rams are a contender, the Colts aren't, and this is a 4-point spread. So I'll take it.
And especially how Stafford looked on Sunday, like I would much rather be betting on Matthew Stafford than Carson Wentz. How Carson Wentz looked on Sunday, because Wentz just I'm not going to get into the whole sacks as a QB stat and all that, but Wentz looked like how he looked last year with the Eagles. Like, I mean, he just double clutching everything, and it's just like, oh no, it was like, come on, like just maybe forward. But no, I'm this is not one of my games, but I see it the exact same way as you do. I think that's the exact same thing. I think Rams their defense was, I mean, just all over everything on Sunday. They haven't missed a step. So, and
it'd be nice for the Bears to play their actual quarterback in a primetime game. That'd be nice too. But
hey, 2 plays or three plays, 2 passes, got the zone read. Like it was good. It was good. They
don't want to break him. They just run him.
Hey,
that's not how you break quarterbacks.
Hey, he's got to get used to the lights, because he hasn't played in college football playoff games and hasn't started, 30-something starts at a high-level football program, never done any of that. So,
Nagy's just waiting. He's like, hey, man, I'm a free agent after 2022. They don't let lame duck head coaches in the NFL. I just got to get to the offseason, get to this extension. Let's not have any judgment on Justin Fields yet.
And then we go
expectations.
And then we go with them next year.
What
was it? Underpants Gnomes in South Park? Step 4, profit. That's exactly what he's going through right now. What do you want to just go for your next game? We'll just alternate. We'll do snake style.
Sure. The Raiders did me right, so I'm going back to it. Okay. Raiders plus 6.5 at Pittsburgh. I just think the Raiders can keep up with this Pittsburgh offense. Having eyes on it last night for that Steelers game. You know, Matt Canada is interesting. The fact that like Najee Harris doesn't come off the field is pretty concerning for me. That's too many reps for a rookie running back. And then, you know, passing game wise, it's the same stuff. It's Ben Roethlisberger's a distributor. He's a point guard. He's not really making plays. And, you know, some of his guys like Chase Claypool, he'll make a couple plays a game. Okay, that's fine. But the Raiders will be able to keep up with that too. So
yes, and it's all designered stuff. You know, it's not like a flow of a drop back play. So it's like if that's why it's so many plays you see Big Ben just doing the whole like and then just like throwing it away because it's like the one read is covered. and I know that we heard all this offseason stuff with Matt Canada. Like okay, like they added like a couple more motions and it was like the passing game was the exact same. It was like literally the same. It was like man, so all that talk. So I'm not. I actually see it at Steelers right now at -5.5. So you might even get a better price. So that might be pretty good for you. I'm going to go with another road team. It's going to be my theme of my picks this week. I'm going Cowboys +3 against the Chargers at LA. Even with Lael Collins out, even with the Cowboys defense, they had a lot of busts that Tom Brady did take advantage of and did not take advantage of. There was actually even more out there than he even got, which is a little scary. I just think their defense does come along. Having just said that about the Cowboys D, just who they're playing, it looks like they're just all figuring it out. But also on the other side, their offense is, and I'll just keep reiterating it because I'm a big Dak fan, but I do think this offense is going to be easily a 500-point offense this year. I think they're just so explosive in the pass game. And the run game will get there. Zeke actually didn't look as slow as I was making him out to be. Maybe Thursday night I was like, man, he's done. His legs are done. And then I watched it on film. And it's like, actually, it was more just Vita Vea just blew everything up. And he had no chance to run the ball. I think he'll have a little more luck against the Chargers. Even though the Chargers just have a nice game against Washington. I think this is going to be more of a shootout than last week's Chargers-Washington game. And I think the Cowboys come out ahead, especially in LA where it might be a heavy Cowboys crowd at that new stadium.
So I have the opposite side of this game.
Finally. Yes.
So Dak's arm. Let's talk about it. I understand. No
issues.
No issues. Get real.
No issues.
Look, he's a good quarterback, and he can work around that arm.
Great quarterback.
Top 7, I think. We mapped it out in the group chat at one point this past week. But his arm isn't there. Justin Herbert is looking like Dan Marino.
He really is. And it's going to be an awesome game. Like, this game is going to be so much fun. I really do think so. But, yeah, go on. Sorry.
And then, like you said, Cowboy fans are going to take over that stadium. But I just think Dak's arm isn't right. The Chargers are looking good. It's a 3-point game. Give me the quarterback whose arm looks healthy. And then the Cowboys were in that game, but let's not lose sight. There was like 4 or 5 turnovers in that game to keep them into it. Yeah. There was a lot. The amount of times like Mike Evans like looked at his hands after being thrown the ball like was abnormal for a Bucs game. So I don't know if Lightning's going to strike twice for the Cowboys. And I just look, man, Dak's arm, he can work around it. He's a very efficient quarterback. That ball isn't coming out of his hand right.
I thought it got better as the game went on. And I had the same thought as you. And we finally got one game ball.
When they got him on the move, he was able to rip it a little bit.
He opened it up, and then he started hitting stuff over the middle where you could really tell he was putting into it. It was almost like he didn't trust to throw full speed, which makes sense given how his training camp broke out with his the shoulder stuff. He actually hurt it like right here. I've heard that before. It's more like a nagging injury. It feels like someone's just kind of like tugging at your muscle a little bit. So I'm sure like finally opening it up, he like has to trust it. So I'm also going to defend Dak to the death. Katelyn, we actually, this is perfect. What do you think on this? Because now you have to split this tie.
Well, I don't know. I agree, like, with both of you. I feel that, like, I mean, obviously, like, coming off of an injury, like, there are going to be nerves going into the game. Like, can he trust his arm? So, like, I wasn't super shocked to see that, but kind of like what Justice said, he's very efficient. Like, he will make it work.
Thank you. So we're going Dak. Okay, so that's perfect. We got a split one. Hopefully we get another one. All right. And I'm going with the third game, another road team. I'm going with a road favorite this time. I'm going with the Chiefs -4 against the Ravens. And this is I feel like you can always bet Mahomes and feel pretty good about it. But I do think that Browns-Chiefs game was really just two really good teams going at it. The Browns defense might be a little leaky until they figure things out. But I think that was just two awesome teams going at it. I think the Ravens, I think Lamar's going to be a little ticked off of how the last night finished. But I do think they're figuring out what their offensive line is. The passing game is still static. And I mean, they had guys running the same routes. And it was like Hollywood Brown and Mark Andrews, guys that have been in this offense with Greg Roman for 3 years now. They had two plays I just saw. And I wasn't like intently watching everything 110% like the Manning brothers were. They had two guys run the same route twice. That's just what I watched. So I can only imagine what more there was. So that was kind of a little disappointing to see. I do think even though with the Chiefs, the Ravens are going to try and live man coverage against the Chiefs speed all game. It could be ugly. If the Chiefs start getting you, it could be really ugly trying to keep up Tyreek Hill a little bit. But it's really more just I think the Chiefs are just such a good team and the Ravens are a good team and they still are my pick for the AFC North. But I just think they're going to take a few weeks until they get healthier. Villanueva doesn't look so stiff in the passing attack. Like I think they just got to keep going a little bit.
So I have that game too, and we're on the same side finally.
Hey.
So we're back at it. Yeah, I mean we should not lose sight that Baltimore just played extended overtime on a Monday and is going to have a quick turnaround to a Sunday game. So that game I think is just right for Kansas City, just covering on the road. And like you said, I think that week one game, I mean, I took the Browns, right? So to cover. So like I am of the opinion that was two really good teams going at it. And that's not really a cause for concern for Kansas City moving forward, that game was tight. I just think those are two of the best teams in the AFC, probably up there with, Baltimore and let me think who else. Buffalo. Yeah, I mean, I know Buffalo had a tough one, but
that was more the Steelers having an awesome defensive game plan.
They're just like, blitzed. Hey, Josh Allen, don't roll to the right.
Yeah, they just honestly, and I'm not trying to like say they're the same quarterback, but it's like we had the same game plan in college when we played Taylor Martinez at Nebraska because he was such a good scrambler, but he couldn't throw. Josh Allen could throw, ridiculous, but they were just like, we're not going to let you run at all. So like two guys would rush and then two guys would just stand there, just wait. And that's what the Steelers would do. They were like, hey, try and win initially, but then hang off. And the guys were just standing there, just jumping up and down. Like, wait, they're not letting Josh Allen do his Professor Chaos stuff. So like credit to the Steelers there. Who's your pick of the week? Or what was one of those? Or do you have two more games?
No, because we just I got one more for my five. San Francisco -3.5 at Philadelphia. What are we doing? Are we doing the Eagles overreaction week one? No, the Falcons are bad. The Falcons are bad. Our buddy Charles McDonald is a Falcons fan, and he is just hit us up like every hour on the hour about how Arthur Smith was like, yeah, I have a bad run game. I think I have the Dallas Cowboys offensive line, and I'm just running directly at Fletcher Cox every single play.
With no fullback.
Yeah, and just getting eaten. And he's like, I'm tired of this team already. I don't like, what do we got to like trade Matt Ryan? So that's where they're at. So I'm waiting for the Eagles to play an NFL team before I make a judgment on the Eagles. With that being said, Kyle Shanahan is Kyle Shanahan, and that game was only close because of garbage time. I mean, they got a big lead on the Detroit Lions early on in the game, and I don't see why that wouldn't be a reason here. Almost in the same vein as like that Rams-Colts pick that I had. It's just one of these teams is a contender, one of these teams aren't, and the spread isn't wide enough right now. Kyle Shanahan, right? last two times he's had a quarterback start for him every week of the season, he's been to a Super Bowl, and that's who we're talking about in terms of like boy genius levels. So
yeah, I have the exact same bet. I'm on 49ers -3. I saw it the same way and said that was my only note I have. I go, what are we doing here? Like that is just the Eagles game.
Borderline offensive, to be honest. It really is. But I'll take your money.
It's people looking at the scores and going like, oh, okay. That's kind of how it got moved that way, because it's as much as I love Devontae Smith, I'm going to write about him this week, and I think he's going to be honestly, a top 5 receiver, because what he's doing right now is I love him so much. He's like one of my favorite players in the league already. But Jalen Hurts was running a college offense. Like what they were running, like they were swinging it back, and they did a good job. Don't credit to the Eagles offense, but it's like that was the Falcons defense, and everyone keeps going like, man, Jason Kelce had a big game, and so-and-so had a big game. It's like, yeah, it's the Falcons D-line. That's Dante Fowler falling over on his face. I love A.J. Terrell, but it's like everybody else isn't so great back there. So, of course, it's going to look decent. But same thing. I think the 49ers are one of the better teams in the league. I think that offense is going to be clicking no matter which quarterback's back there. They did the package stuff with Trey Lance, and it looked great. And honestly, I think the defense, even with Jason Verrett out, I just think that defense
tough moment of silence for Jason Verrett's career, because that is so tough. Like he's an amazing talent. He's really only been healthy for like 2 seasons since he came in and
he played like a star.
He made it as a Pro Bowl. Yeah, he was a Pro Bowl the first time he did it, and yeah, I've just never seen a guy that talented, especially at cornerback, a position that like the NFL just desperately needs talent at, just have his body fail on him just so many times. And that's just such a bummer because he's so talented.
Yeah, I know. It's like a corner version of like Bob Sanders. Like such a talented player, but just his body wasn't meant for it. I know that Jason Verrett, like his college, that was his hang-up, was that it was, hey, yeah, he's super talented. It's just you have to worry about his body. Like you have to worry about his knees and getting banged up. And I'm bummed about it, but I still think the 49ers defense could be strong just because of the front. And I think even with some of the young guys the Eagles have up there, with Fred Warner doing things at the linebacker position, I just think it's a good matchup for the 49ers. And like you said, you're betting on the contender and not the team that just beat basically an FCS team in week 1. I'm stealing that line from Chuck.
All right, well, picks are looking great this week. It seems like Nate and Justice are on the same page for a good amount of games, so we'll see how that turns out. But before we end this video, let's get into our picks of the week. Anyone ready to start first?
Actually, that 49ers game is my pick of the week. But yes, and if you need a 5th game, I did like the Patriots at -3.5, but they moved to -5.5. So I got it at 3.5, but I wouldn't really give it 5.5. But my pick of the week is going to be that 49ers game at -3.5.
Yeah, and he stole mine too. That was my pick, was the San Francisco 49ers. Again, I'm betting on the contender. I don't believe anything that we saw from the Eagles in week 1 translates to the rest of the season, because they're not getting the Falcons for the rest of the season. So,
all right, well, I am looking at the Bears versus Bengals. They play on Sunday, and Joe Burrow coming off of an injury. I love Joe Burrow. I'm excited to watch him this season. Coming off that injury, he kind of had a slow start, but he started looking like his old self towards the end of the game. And the only thing that, I don't like, and what I didn't like seeing from the Bengals, was that their offense was super conservative at super important parts of the game, 4th quarter and overtime, when they needed to score. So I am liking Bears -3. I think that if they play Justin Fields and along with their great defense, that they will win, but we'll have to see.
We'll see. I'm seeing the stuff leaked. Who knows how much Fields is going to see the field? Yeah. Whatever all the talking heads are saying right now. I know. If they play Fields, I'm all for that. And I agree with you, Katelyn. Burrow looked great on Sunday. He really did. He was throwing everything on time, and he looked like a number 1 pick. Like he really did. And for him to be a really good player, he has to play how he did last week, which is good. Which is good football.
Yeah, I hope Fields gets in the game. It felt weird that Sunday night game where Collinsworth is just doing 3 hours of you can't play Fields, you'll break him. And I'm like, the only person that we've had sit on the bench in like 15 years is Mahomes. So why can't you play him? Yeah. It's just very clear he was in production meetings with like
everything Mahomes about Mahomes, how he plays, the situation, everything is an outlier. Like, people got to stop comparing anything to outlier. You can't stop comparing quarterbacks to him, stop comparing sitting. Like, he's just a total outlier. So that's the Bears.
You can't play him, you'll break him. That's what I'm wondering. Like, you think Matt Nagy wakes up in the morning every day and he just goes to Justin Fields, he goes, Are you Tom Brady yet? Please tell me you're Tom Brady. Seems like that's what they're waiting for. So
that's funny.
Oh, we'll have to see, but those are our picks for this week, and we will come back next week with some more picks. Hopefully we all get lucky this entire week with our picks. But yeah, this was Beat the Odds NFL edition, and we will see you guys next week.